Hello and welcome everybody to a brand new episode of r/MaliciousCompliance. My name's Ryan, the official host here on Reddit Voice, and I look forward to bringing you guys today's top stories. Before I do, however, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit that subscribe button, as well as make sure you got notifications turned on, that way you could stay up to date with all the latest and the greatest. Sorry, no unemployment for you, but... Back in the early 90s, I was working for a company that provided staffing for US government agencies. I was a system admin at a large Department of Transportation facility. One day, I walked in, was told to see my supervisor, who very apologetically told me that Uncle Sam no longer wanted me working there. And well, I was fired. I was told to go to the contracting company's office on the other side of town, which I had never been to save the day I was hired. Shocked, I drove up there. I was like 24 and had never been fired before. In retrospect, I know what happened. The project I was working on was failing, not because of anything I did or didn't do. The concept itself was flawed. There were 3 people who worked on the project, 2 of which were federal FTEs, plus me, the contractor. Anyone who's had experience with this knows the contractors are the first to go. So I'm sitting with the manager of the local branch, who has an email from the government employee in charge of the doomed project, listing a parade of horribles that I had done. Some of the minor ones were true, I had been late a few times, but the major ones were just fabrications. They claim there was a problem with the networking, and that a contractor had to be engaged to fix the problem. Is that true? Well, yes, I'm the contractor. I diagnosed the problem, and then I fixed the problem. That's my job, or at least it was until a couple of hours ago. The manager realizes pretty quickly what's going on, not that it gets me my job back, and as we go through the separation procedures, he tells me that per company policy, he's required to document that I'm not eligible for unemployment compensation. I just nodded because I didn't know much about these things. He says I'm getting a 2-week notice, and that for the next 2 weeks, I'm to show up to his office. He offered the use of office equipment to print resumes, apply for other jobs, and the like. So after a couple of days, he says he's set up an interview for me at another project at the same facility. Sure, I went down there, sat with the project manager. Interview lasted less than 5 minutes. So, we're a cabal ship here. What's your experience with COBOL? None whatsoever. So we both realized it was a bad fit. I went back to the office, confused as hell. The site manager knew I didn't have COBOL experience. Why did he send me there? I found out a few weeks later. I had applied for unemployment compensation anyway, upon the urging of friends who said that policy sounded really sketchy. I had an interview at the unemployment office, and they looked over the paperwork, noticed the form that said ineligible, and the lady explained that I could contest that. I said sure. She asks if I've been applying for work. I say yes. She asks if I've had any interviews. I told her about the one I had. Her eyes widen, and she smiles. If they interviewed you for another position, that means you were not terminated for cause. You were let go because of lack of work. That's a layoff. She then marks on the paper that I'm eligible for unemployment compensation. I ask if I still need to contest their finding. No, they can contest my determination, but given that they've actively tried to keep you employed after these events, it's not gonna fly. He did you a big favor by sending you on that interview. TLDR, manager gave unfair directive by corporate, sends me on an interview for a job that I'm not qualified for, so I can get unemployment compensation. Lunch presentations. I practiced law for a number of years at the same firm. The firm had this policy where all the attorneys, partners down to the junior associates, would have lunch together on Fridays, and there'd be a presentation of the cases that had been recently decided in the area of law that we practiced. Prior to my arrival, only the junior associates, and not the partners, gave this presentation, but that had changed so that both partners and an associate would now give said presentation. There were enough attorneys in this firm that you would come up once a year, and it was a fair amount of work to put together the presentation for the Friday lunch. I got paired with newly made partners for my very first presentation, and he was very disgruntled about having to do said presentation, as he's now a partner and he thought he shouldn't have to do them anymore. He decided not to prepare any of the cases, and told me that I was just to do that, and he'd be there to answer any questions that came up. Being junior, I didn't say anything, but went ahead and prepared the cases and gave the presentation. After I had summarized the first case, one of the attorneys in the room asked a very detailed technical question about the case, to which I responded by turning to the partner and saying, "Gee, I don't know, perhaps the partner can answer that." Which is what I did with all of the questions that day. Naturally, the partner had not read any of the cases, so he couldn't coherently answer any of the questions. He wasn't well liked by the other attorneys in the room, who quickly figured out that he had me do all the work for the presentation while he did nothing. So they began asking more and more complex questions, to which I would turn to him for an answer. By the end of the lunch, he was beet red. Going forward, he did his share of the presentation in the future. All sales final. Your problem is no longer our problem. My wedding budget was slim. My now husband and I paid for all of it out of savings and took every opportunity to cut costs. So when it came to the dress, I decided to purchase a small consignment boutique. They post their inventory online, and I watched it for weeks to find the right dress, my style, my size, and a good price. Finally, the day came, and my dream dress pops up on the site. I drive in, try it on, and love it. I swipe my credit card and left the store happy with my purchase. My credit card statement came a week later, and I noticed that the $500 charge wasn't on it. I just assumed that it had missed the cutoff and it would be on the next bill. A month later, there's still no charge. So I called Discover, my credit card company, to inquire. They say they never saw a charge from this company come through, nor had there been any charges for that amount in the last 2 months. I checked the receipt. It specifically says Discover ending in, with my last 4 digits, so I knew it had to have been this card. Best they could guess is that there was some sort of glitch and that the charge never went through. So I call up the boutique, I give my name and have the following conversation. I bought a dress about 6 weeks ago. Cutting me off. All sales are final. We don't do refunds or exchanges. No, I love the dress. I'm not looking to return it. I just noticed there's no charge on my statement. That's your problem, not ours. You bought the dress, you figure it out. I don't think you understand. I have the receipt that shows the price of $500, but we don't adjust the prices after the purchase, lady. You should have thought of that price before you swiped your card. There's nothing we can do about it for you. So I told him I was sorry to have bothered them, and I hung up. Ooh, those are my favorite. I love when MCs have to do with someone being a dickhead and someone just deciding, you know what? I don't think I'm going to help you anymore. But that's just kind of the description of malicious compliance. So, who sounds stupid now? Ryan from Reddit Voice, that's who. License email mailboxes of all former employees? I don't recommend it, but okay. Edit for name clarity. The bad IT director goes by all of the following names. IT Director, Dental Commander, IT Commando, Computer Commander, IT Joe, IT Boy, Hacker God, Hacker Dude, and IT Bob. These were all real nicknames we gave to that guy as we dealt with his antics. Sorry if it's confusing, but personally it's my favorite part of dealing with him. Everyone else is as named. A few years ago at my previous job, I was a senior technician at a managed service provider of IT services. We were a small company and were often yes men to just about anybody who would offer us money in exchange to their requests. The owner of our company would not push back against those made crazy demands, overly cheap or even overly disrespectful clients. This led to us oftentimes doing tasks out of our normal scope, at cost, and a lot of times being cussed at for no good reason. Our primary services included on-site service and support and could hosting of in-house and third-party solutions, one of which was Microsoft 365, which is obviously very commonly used for email services. We would keep living knowledge base pages on each company, their services, environment info, and even policies of what different companies may demand, like only follow through with support requests from office managers, or if admin access is needed for this particular clusters of services, contact Jim. Servers, not services. Sorry guys. One of our clients was a dental company that was of decent size. They had about 10 locations and were growing. Customers loved them, and we often took pleasure going on site as it was heaven dealing with such polite people in contrast to what we had to deal with most of the time. They'd even demand us have some lunch with them if they happened to be on site during their Friday luncheon. It was great. They used 365 services, only used E3 licensing for their servers, which was total overkill, $20 per user per month when most employees barely even checked their email, let alone made an Excel doc, and they wouldn't take our recommendation to go use the essentials at $5 per user instead unless it was an office manager or an HQ worker. Also, they had a decently high turnover rate as it was a college type of town and a lot of students would work there in one of the various positions to make decent pay and good experience all while attending school. Basically, they'd come and go. The IT director, a title that literally anyone can wear nowadays, was pretty bad at his job. He calls us one day, cussing because there were a bunch of mailboxes that were not licensed. We tried to explain that these were mailboxes we converted to shared of employees that had left. Doing so allows us to remove the license of the mailbox while keeping all of the mail intact, and it's very easily accessible if we needed to delegate access to someone who needs to review. You basically get to archive the mailbox for free. He barely let us even speak, and the tech who actually took the call was flustered, so I took over completely. Using my best well-seasoned customer service charm, I tried to explain to him the same, yet to no avail. They had 180-ish unused mailboxes that he wanted us to convert to a user box and add one of those premium, I'm drinking Stella in a fancy glass licenses at $20 a pop per month. He resorted to personally insulting me, telling me I'm a tech who got promoted too fast and I should try a 4-year school next time, demanding it be done right away with no specifics on how it be done. Bless your heart, man. Okay, we'll do it. Luckily, we record the calls. Also, I'll make note this company has a policy that we're not allowed to use PowerShell, which for those that don't know is a terminal that allows us to perform activation by command line. We can write scripts for special tasks or even do things in bulk, saving lots of time. I knew this very well, and I begged them repeatedly to let us use PowerShell in the past to no avail. So we ordered pizza in the office and got to work. Converted every last mailbox to normal and licensed it. We even converted a spider into a god as he struck fear into us with hairy legs and many eyes. We weren't worthy. After we finished, we even had a contest to see who could frisbee Office 2003 discs the furthest, since we had a binder full of them, as well as a few other goofy games for about a half hour before we dipped out. It was a fun late night at work in the end. A month or so rolls by and our accountant had set out all of the invoices to our customers on that fine selected Monday of the month. Our dental commander calls us at 12:03 p.m., just 3 minutes after he would have gotten his, and he had blown a head gasket. He finally saw the bill for the additional 180 E3 licenses, plus taxes and fees. He was threatening to sue me and my 2 coworkers if our owner doesn't fix it. One thing about our pushover owner is that he didn't take kindly to someone insulting his workers directly, as he took it personally since he interviewed everyone himself. He listened to the call recording after we begged him to do so. He didn't like what he heard from IT Commando. He didn't give in and even added a little razzle-dazzle we had never seen before. He noted that because it was a written policy that we can't use PowerShell, we should have billed the request as a project since they demanded it be done in such a short time and was not a normal support request. In order for us to remove the license, they would also have to have this done at the same project rate and they'd have to pay for the bill as well as the 2 projects now or we wouldn't touch it. Period. Our project rate was $125 an hour for junior techs and $175 an hour for senior techs. It was going to be about 2 hours per head, all at the senior rate for each leg of the ordeal, so about 12 hours all in all, as there were 3 of us. Computer Commander didn't know that the owner of this company and ours were moderately close. Friends, for nearly 2 decades about. They'd occasionally play golf together, and whatever company owners do when they're not at the office. The dental company owner and IT Joe came out to our office immediately. Before allowing the discussion to proceed far past hello, our company owner played both our calls on full blast over one of those Logitech 2.1 systems. It was loud. Dental company owner was absolutely shocked at what he heard, as this guy was always looked at in high standards. Hacker God was pale white as he sat there and didn't move a muscle. He immediately told the IT boy to call an Uber back to HQ and to stand by in the conference room. He wouldn't be driving back with him. He apologized profusely to us techs, nearly in tears it seemed. He wrote a check for one of the projects and the bill. We agreed to undo the work for free as he was a really good client of ours and was always nice. He gave us each $100 Visa gift cards the next week and bought us lunch in our office a few times, all out of his own pocket. Hacker Dude was fired as soon as the owner of the company got back to the office, and he entrusted us to make love to his IT systems while he found his replacement, who was ultimately better in every such way. We took every recommendation of ours, including the license types for the majority of the workers, well confused as to why this was ever a debated topic. That's the one company I truly miss at my last job. A good client. TLDR, IT Bob demands we convert shared mailboxes to licensed mailboxes, gets fired, and we get lunch. And there you have it, folks, the end of the epics. If you like these stories, be sure to leave a like on the video, as well as make sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on, so you could stay up to date with all the latest and greatest we have here on the channel. As always, my name's Ryan, the official host here on Reddit Voice, uploading just about every single day, and I look forward to seeing you guys in tomorrow's video.